Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Modern Divorce Podcast. I'm your host, Billie Tarascio, and I am excited today to be talking to an executive at Soberlink. Now, many of you know that I am a big fan of Soberlink, and if you haven't heard me talk about Soberlink, you're going to learn a lot about it here in our episode.
Before we dive deeper, let's hear from our sponsor.
At Modern Law, we don't believe in a one-size-fits-all solution, and we understand that some clients need full representation using every tool in the legal toolbox. This is especially true for custody and alcohol cases, which is why Soberlink has been one of the most important tools for my clients. Soberlink's remote alcohol monitoring tool has helped over 500,000 people prove their sobriety with peace and mind during their parenting time. To begin receiving real-time alerts that your child is safe and to receive $50 off your device, visit soberlink.com/modern. Chris Beck, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Billy. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. How are you doing today?
I can't complain. We're getting some sunshine here in North Carolina for the first time in a few days. So, I start to get a little panicked when I don't see the sun, but got some sunshine today. It might be 40 degrees, but at least there's some sun.
Well, you have a lovely positive attitude towards your sunny 40-degree weather. I will tell you, us Phoenicians are a bit more spoiled, and we'd like some heat along with our sunshine. We might be experiencing similar weather today, Chris.
I hear you. No, I'd love to be out in that Arizona area. That desert out there is so beautiful. So I am jealous.
Yeah. And so you're from Orange County, is that correct?
I am. I was born and raised in Orange County. I went to University of California, Irvine. And then I moved out to North Carolina and met a girl out here. And yeah, the rest is history.
The rest is history. The rest is history. So you are an executive with Soberlink. For those of our viewers who don't know what Soberlink is, what is Soberlink?
So we do alcohol monitoring for child custody cases. Our actual technology is a breathalyzer, and it's combined with facial recognition software here, where it confirms your identity during the breath test, and then it sends those results to anyone that's part of the monitoring agreement in real time. So that can be about 60 seconds after we submit the test, so if that person is sober or not.
I just remembered you guys sent me one of those devices.
Yeah.
It's not turned on. But I have one, and I'd really like to turn it on and actually demo it for people, like take a drink and then blow in it and see what happens, and then maybe have two and see what happens. So maybe we can work that out. What do you think, Chris?
I think I can walk you through that. No problem.
Awesome. I think that would be so interesting,
right?
So fun.
Yeah.
And the reason, and I read your website, I was looking at your materials, and you take the position that you are really there to advocate for people with alcohol use disorder.
Yes. I mean, our passion since day one has been in the treatment side of this whole unit. And with that, our passion is to be that continued care arm for those treatment facilities to help that patient after their 28-day stay to actually continue their recovery journey and to document their sobriety, make sure that treatment that they received during that stay continues to resonate. Family law became part of our business because of how connected it is with that. I mean, we do see a lot of divorce because of addiction. And we saw that our technology was needed out there. There needed to be a way to correctly identify sobriety during parenting time. And I call it an empowerment tool because I feel like we're empowering that person who has been struggling to give them the ability to parent and to be with their child. And we all know that having both parents after a divorce is really the best thing in my mind, and make sure that they both have part of their child's life and can be a parent. So we believe that this technology can really help facilitate that.
I totally agree. And I've seen it happen. But both times that I have been involved with Soberlink, I've represented the sober parent. And so I hadn't thought of Soberlink as being a real advocacy tool for the alcoholic parent, because I think it works that way for both. So for the sober parent, and in both of the cases that I worked on, the alcoholic parent was abusive when drinking.
Yeah.
And so by removing alcohol during parenting time, it was such a win-win for the child who was safe, for the parent that struggled with alcohol because they could have unsupervised, uninterrupted quality parenting time, and for the sober parent who didn't have to be afraid. Like it was a game changer. It changed the relationships of these families.
Yeah, you really get to a point where during that process, there was this trust that was lost. And this device almost allows you to have that open conversation and earn that trust back. And I think that's super important in this whole process.
The other thing that is really interesting about it from my perspective is even if the drinking parent does not agree that their alcohol use is a problem and wants to continue drinking when they don't have their child, they can. Whereas any of the other testing that the court will order requires you to be sober all the time, which people really feel like is an infringement upon their liberties and their rights.
Sure. Yeah. Our most popular program is our level 1 program, which is around parenting time. And, that monitor client would be asked to test before the parenting exchange, maybe 2 to 3 hours during the parenting time, every 2 to 3 hours during the parenting time. And then after the parenting time has concluded, if there's an overnight, maybe they would do a test right before they go to bed and then in the morning, of course. But this program has been extremely popular. And because of our real time way of presenting the data, we're able to facilitate that, where, like you said, with these other technologies, more traditional, like an ankle bracelet or going down to a lab to get a urinalysis, that's just not possible. So this has been a great way to do a level 1 where parenting time only. Yes, I still want to have my glass of wine at night with dinner, but I want to make sure that I'm documenting my sobriety during my parenting time with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So talk to me about the different plans that Soberlink offers.
Yeah, so I mentioned level 1 there, where it's parenting time only. We do have a level 2 program, which is daily testing. And that's 7 days a week. That's more of the treatment model of what we provide. So you're doing your testing on a schedule. So you're actually trying to create good habits. You're trying to test on a schedule that is repetitive. So you're actually retraining the brain. And, the addiction professionals that we actually consulted with early on when they were trying to develop a really comprehensive program, they were saying that's really important to this program, is that you create new habits. Because after a year of creating these new habits, you actually have a cognitive change in your behavior, and you're able to do more, that new thing more than what was common in the past, right? Which was that drinking. So, we're really proud of that program as well. We have a scheduler that actually will make the monitor client aware of when it's time to test, and they'll have a window to test within. But it's not like the random testing of the past, where if you had to order a urinalysis, you're like, okay, call into your station, see if it's time for you to take your test. No matter if you have your kids or not, you got to go down and take that test. And that just seemed like something that's just in the back of your head, causing a lot of anxiety. And in some cases, it might be that tipping point for that person to drink more. We wouldn't want that. So we want something easy, less intrusive.
Right.
And that's where we're at. Yeah.
I mean, it's embarrassing. It takes time away from work. If somebody doesn't have a car, they now have to figure out how to get to the testing facility. And I've seen parents who are really trying miss a test or have it be diluted or not go to the right facility and have their family law case messed up. And it really takes away from somebody's humanity and does not treat them with any sort of respect. And I feel like Soberlink is effective at getting everybody what they need. The information, the sobriety,
correct. Yeah.
But respectfully.
No, absolutely. And that's really what it's about. You can almost do this discreetly without the child even knowing. I mean, even during your parenting time, you can go to the restroom, do a test, make sure you're compliant, then we can go on. I mean, it's a interesting thing when I got involved in this, and to see how the orders used to be phrased. You couldn't drink 24 hours prior to seeing your kids, and no one knew how to actually comply to that order. I mean, there was no way of knowing. So it was like everyone was kind of had their hands up in the air. And I was like, wow, there's an easy solution for this. And it can provide really good documentation and be really easy to execute, really easy.
Yeah. Yeah, that is fantastic. Is the technology, when was the technology developed?
So we launched the company in 2011. Yeah, that was when we first started. It was actually a little bit different of a device. We actually had remember the old Blackberries?
Mm-hmm.
So it actually connected with a BlackBerry, and then that's how it transferred the results to our secure web portal. Now it's a little bit more technical. We have two devices now that we offer. We have a Connect device that connects to your iPhone
Mm-hmm.
or Android phone and then goes to our secure web portal, or we have a cellular device, which is what I call the plug and play. So that's super easy to use. You turn it on, you blow into it, done.
Cool.
And very quick. Yes.
Are there price differences between the different devices?
Yeah, so it's about a $200 difference between the two prices. So our fees are, you have an upfront cost of the device, and then that is dependent on how long you are actually going to use the program. So we'll take about $200 off if you agree to a 4 months. So we see our average being about 8 months. And like I said, those addiction professionals said that the cognitive change happens in a year. So a little less than a year, but that's what we see so far with the data.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll take some money off if you agree to the 4 months. And then we bill in arrears for the monthly monitoring of the technology.
Can you tell who's paying for it? Is it usually the person who's using the device, or is it the other parent that's asking for it?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it really comes up to how it got introduced, because you're right. If the concerned party is the one that's bringing it to light, a lot of times they'll be the one paying for it. But I would say typically, and I would say in about 65% of the cases, it is the monitored client that is the paying party. Now, I have seen some creative, orders come through where the concerned party pays until there's a positive. Then when there's a positive, then the monitor client pays. So
Sure.
that's understandable. Or a split payment 50-50. I see that a lot as well.
Yeah. And does your website allow for both parents to make partial payments, or how does that work?
Yeah. So from a partial payment standpoint, you would call in and it's a little bit outside of our shopping cart that we provide, but you can do a 50-50 split if you call in during the activation process, and you can get that 50-50. Anything outside of that, a little more creative, you'd probably have to figure that one out with the two parties. You could probably get creative, but can't do it through our site.
How are you connecting to parents? How are people like lawyers and parents finding out about you?
Yeah, so a lot of times it's attorneys who are recommending the technology just because they're trying to find solutions to the problem that's in front of them. And whether you're on the side of the accused or on the side of the concerned, it doesn't matter. They're both, like you said earlier, it's a solution for both, and it can work for both parties. So we try and find that we resonate really well with mental health professionals. Even we do a lot of education with mental health professionals that do a lot of family law practice. So you see someone like a neutral like that's being able to recommend our products, but attorneys knowing about it, bring it up to the judge. And really what we see a lot is the parties actually agreeing to use it before the judge even has to say anything. They're like, okay, well, this is a great way to alleviate the fears that I have, or this is a great way to prove my sobriety during that time with my child. So however it gets phrased, but yeah, it's typically facilitated through the attorney.
Okay. All right. That's interesting, because I would think that, the most important person to know about this should be the judge, but I don't know that all the family court judges do know.
Yeah. So judges are an interesting group. They have to be very neutral. They would love to recommend Soberlink, but they cannot. This is something that they can say, well, we would love to have, I'm going to order some type of monitoring, and it's up to the parties to decide what monitoring they want to choose. Now, if we were for a charity type product, maybe that would be different. But since we're a for-profit, it's very hard for them to say, you have to use Soberlink.
That's interesting, because I'll tell you, judges will order our Family Wizard or different parenting apps. So, and I'm not aware of competitors. Do you have competitors?
Yeah, well, we do. I mean, a competitor is really the lab. I mean, that's a competitor of ours,
Oh,
or ankle bracelet. That's
okay,
technically competition that
sure.
someone could use. Yeah.
But no, there's no other digital, at home alcohol monitoring devices. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. There are
Okay.
others out there. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, there are others out there. I believe Scram, who has the ankle bracelet, also offers a remote technology.
Hmm.
Um, even our partners who bought our criminal justice side of the business offer a product just like this called
Hmm.
SL2, but they
Hmm.
use it on the criminal side of the courts, so
Hmm.
more for probation and DUI. But
Hmm.
they all have their different, things that are good and maybe not so good, right?
Sure.
You have
Okay.
to decide what your clients are comfortable with.
Yeah. Well, I've never heard of those. I do know about, labs because those have been around a long time.
Yeah.
Where do you see the future for Soberlink?
It's a great question. We have really looked out into the future to try and figure out what we can help with. And really, when we look at who we want to be, is we want to be a thought leader around addiction, around substance abuse, and make sure that we can provide solutions. So we're always looking for that technology that can help, mom and dad or these co-parents to better parent.
Hmm.
And if we can bring technology
Hmm.
forward
Hmm.
to facilitate that, then we're definitely going to do that. We know that universities across the country, there's a few on top of my mind that are doing research and breathalyzers around THC, so marijuana. And once that kind of gets to the next stage where it becomes a remote technology such as this, you might think that's something that we would be excited about.
Yeah.
But it has to be, I think where we want to make sure is that, you know, it is something that we're trying to assist in the best interest of the child and making sure that it's the right product that are going to help both parties. I don't want it to favor one or the other. And that's really important to us as a company going forward.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think that you've done that. I've definitely, because as I said, when I read your marketing materials, it was geared towards one parent, and I have advocated it to that other parent. So I really, really do think it works for both. And I'm glad that you mentioned marijuana, because sometimes when I talk about this, parents will say, "Well, how are we going to track opioids? How are we going to track marijuana? How are we going to track
Yeah.
cocaine or whatever the insert addiction?" So it's interesting that there is different technology coming for marijuana. Is there any talk of monitoring for other types of illegal drugs?
Still, I'm sure there's research going on, but from a remote way to do it,
Hmm.
not necessarily. I mean, maybe we'll get a little more creative.
Hmm.
A lot of times, chain of custody becomes a big issue when we're talking about getting a urine sample done from the comfort of your home, right?
Hmm.
But that's why people have to go to a lab to get a urinalysis, because a lot of times it's ordered as observed, and that
Hmm.
becomes very difficult to do at the comforts of your home. And that's what is so unique about our technology, is that you're taking a test the comfort of your home or with your child or by yourself, but we're confirming the identity through technology, and then we're sending it to our secure web portal. So you have an unbiased way of confirming that identity and making sure that it is, you know, the monitored client.
Right. It can take a picture. Can't take a
Hmm.
picture of you peeing. That wouldn't work.
Yeah, I don't think I want to do that. No.
It wouldn't work. Maybe you can develop technology that could hear. Okay.
Yeah, I don't even know if I want to go down that road, but yes.
I'm just glad you guys are working on developing it, because it's
Yes.
it's the whole thing is a fantastic opportunity, and I don't think that you've scratched the surface with market share. I really don't. I think that not everybody knows about it. It's a fabulous tool, and I think you're doing great work.
Thank you. No, we appreciate it. It really makes my day when I see someone come and write a review about their experience with our product, and they're like, I was so pessimistic about doing it. I hated it. I hated the concept of it. And then I got to use it, and I did a whole reversal, and it's amazing the things that it allowed me to do as far as be with my kids or have a better relationship with my ex. And that's really the things that motivate us and drive us to continue to improve our product each and every day.
That's fantastic. That's really
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks.
The only thing that I hear people complain about is cost.
Sure.
And I'd like you to address that.
Yes. Well, I would say the average cost of our product, if you take it for about a year, is a little over $2,000, the upfront cost, and then the monthly monitoring. I break that down to 365 days. That's, I don't know, something like just under 550 probably. My math in my head, it's not that fast, and I apologize, but just under 550. And I think about, and I hate to say this, but I think about going to a restaurant and then I get a soda or I get a beer at a restaurant. I guess service that you don't see, from a computing standpoint. And it's expensive to keep all this live and running, because if it ever goes down, someone's not going to be able to see their kids, and I can't afford that. Neither
Right.
can you as the attorney. You don't want your client not to be able to see their kids. So
Right.
we take extreme costs to make sure that we never go down.
Yeah.
And, that's kind of how I talk about costs. But
Yeah, that's really interesting.
With that said, we do have a family assistance program. So something that not a lot of attorneys know about, but it is on our website under our attorneys page, is that if we do have a client that meets the indigent status of their county, we will give them a device plus the monitoring fees for free.
Wow.
Yeah. So the attorney has to take the case pro bono, but typically they're going through legal aid maybe or whatnot. So we do have a program, and it's used very often. We've had over 75 clients using that products, maybe, I guess, just in the year and a half that it came out. So it is gaining some traction, and we want to make sure we're able to give back. We want to make sure we're able to serve those clients who are less fortunate and not so affluent. And, we want to make sure our technology is available for everybody.
That's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful.
Thanks.
Two other ways that I think about cost when I think about the cost of Soberlink. First, if you're not getting parenting time, you're going to pay more in child support. So getting yourself that parenting time is going to give you a credit on the child support calculator, which will likely wipe out any cost of Soberlink. And if you do end up needing supervised parenting time, that has quite a cost to it.
Yes.
And then the third way is if you get ordered to go test at a facility, I mean, all those things we talked about, plus the time off work and the driving there. So to me, I think the cost is honestly pretty nominal. But that's not true for everyone. And I'm so happy that you've got that indigent program, because there are families out there who really, really need this and actually can't afford it. And that's just great news.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's something that we're passionate about, and it's our way of giving back a little bit. And, I think it's touched a lot of people, and we always have them right back. I think they're the population that probably write in a lot and say thanks. And that's really rewarding to us.
That's fantastic. Well, Chris, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. If you all have enjoyed this episode, make sure to download it, rate it, send it on to your friends, and check out our past episodes. Make sure to rate that. You can find this podcast on any place that you will listen to your podcasts. Thank you so much, Chris, and have a great day.
Thanks again. You too. Enjoy that weather out there.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening to the Modern Divorce Podcast. Remember, anything you've heard today or anything you read online is not the replacement for actual consultation with an attorney and does not create an attorney-client relationship. Even if you called in and we spoke to you, you were anonymous and we don't have your details and you have not become a client of Modern Law. However, we would love to speak with you, or you should seek out the advice of legal counsel or counseling or any other expert near you. And if you have an idea for a show topic or you need to speak with an attorney in Arizona, you can reach me at info@mymodernlaw.com.